Hi, I'm Emily from Emily Bakes Cakes, and today I'm going to make a really amazing cream cheese pound cake, but I've been wanting to try it as a rum cake because it's really versatile. This is a recipe that comes from the Foster's Market cookbook that I love so much, and even in the description, or even in when she says, you know, variations, she says you can add all these different spices. You could add cinnamon, cardamom, nutmeg. You could switch out the extract for almond, or let's see, what's the other one? She said lemon. But I want to try it with rum extract because we have a rum cake that we like to make. But and of course we don't use real rum because that's another trip to the store, and also we don't do the alcohol. But my husband doesn't necessarily like the cake, and I'm not that huge of a fan of it either. So I'm going to make this cream cheese pound cake that comes together really quickly, and we'll put in rum extract, and then we'll make a glaze to put it on. So what we start out with is we have our bundt pan, and I have just sprayed it with Pam, and then I put flour in there. And you can get really a nice baker's joy, I think is what it's called, and that is flour mixed with the grease or the oil, and that makes that's really nice and easy, although it does get stopped up sometimes. It gets plugged. So I'm just adding some brown sugar, and I just do it by sight, and that's because even the original recipe that I used, which was the Tortuga rum cake, it did not have this on there, but then other people were like, oh, I really like this, and I think it is really good. It adds just a nice like glazy thing on top, and then I like to put pecans around inside, and I kind of like it when they're bigger chunks too. And so this is just to taste, obviously. If you like nuts in it, then go crazy. They kind of some stay on top, but some of them also, you know, get mixed into the actual cake batter as you're cooking it. But this is just a really delicious, rich cake that I really love, like butter rum lifesavers, and so that's what I'm always trying to recreate, is like that buttery rummy flavor. We actually bought a Tortuga rum cake at the store, and I didn't like it with the flavor of the alcohol in there. So anyway, I like the way mine tastes better, but my husband kind of disagrees. All right, so I think that looks good. Now what we'll do is we'll come over here, and so since it is a pound cake, I think that the origin of that is that it was a pound of butter, pound of flour, pound of eggs, but we're not going for the pound of butter necessarily. We just put in 3 cubes of butter, or 24 tablespoons, and then 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese. And I have to say that there have been times that I have accidentally put 4 cubes of butter in the cake because I just was so intent on opening up the butter packages, and it turned out fine. It was a little bit greasy-ish, but I mean, that just made it more rich. So we have our butter and our cream cheese, and now we're going to add in 3 cups of sugar. And that's one other thing that really drew me to this recipe, was how much butter was in it. Because I don't know if you've made the brownies, but it's really super great to have that much butter in a baked good. It just gives it such a good rich flavor. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to turn this on, and we're going to mix it really well until it's light and fluffy, and then we're going to add 6 eggs. And I just broke them for convenience, one at a time, so that they mix in one at a time, and it's really kind of cool. This batter also is one of those that I think is kind of fun to see come together. So, and this, I am using softened butter because I actually got it out last night because I thought I would make it last night, but I didn't pull my life together. So that's why it's all mixing together so well. I'm going to turn it up higher, trying to get that light and fluffy texture. And I used to not think that the light and fluffy texture mattered that much, but then sister's sugar cookies were always so much better than mine, and I wondered why. And we compared how we cooked them, and she set her mixer for the amount of time that it said in the recipe for it to mix. And that was the only variation. Well, and she used eggs from her chickens. And so after that, that's what I started doing as well, because you're supposed to let it mix for like 6 minutes. And it turned out amazing after that. It really made a difference with my sugar cookies. So just turn it up higher. Okay, as you can see, it's gotten quite a bit lighter in color. All right, and I think it's pretty light and fluffy. We mixed it for a couple minutes there. All right, now what we're gonna do is we'll add in the eggs one at a time. And I think that that's super useful to add them in one at a time, just so you can make sure. Let's see if I can do it. Woo! There we go. Okay. Isn't it just super pretty? I think it looks so light and fluffy and pretty. Okay, so now we'll add in another egg. There we go. Uh-oh. Another egg almost fell in there. I guess we'll do that one too. Oh, look at that. You gotta move it faster. Alright. Okay, that looks good. We'll add in one more egg. I have to say I love having a KitchenAid. It makes stuff like this so easy. Doesn't that just look amazing? Alright, let me put in one more. So that was a total of 6 large eggs. Alright, I think that's mixed in, so we'll add in this one. Alright, so we're open now. So the only problem with this is sometimes it gets a hole in the middle after it's baked, and sometimes it doesn't. And I can never remember what I do differently that makes a hole appear in the middle and what doesn't. And I think every time I think, oh, that's what I should remember. I mixed it too much, or I mixed it not enough, or I did something. But I mean, either way, it's just super delicious and lovely. So now that we've scraped it down, do one last little mix, make sure it's all together. All right, now we're going to add our dry ingredients. And of course, if it makes you feel more comfortable to like sift it together in a separate bowl, then that is totally fine. I feel fine just adding it straight to it. So we're going to add in 3 cups of flour. There we go. And I know like spooning it in is supposed to be the way so that you don't like pack it in or whatever, but I don't know. I always feel like it's such a minuscule amount for something like this that it's fine. Okay, and then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and a ½ teaspoon of baking soda. All right, make sure there's not lumps. And then a ½ teaspoon of salt. Now, like I said, I always kind of use salted butter. So now, oh, and I forgot to add, we're going to add in our vanilla and our rum extract. Now this is a bakery emulsion, one that I bought at Orson Gigi, but for years I've just always used the kind you can get at the grocery store. So when I make my, ooh, I love that rum smell. When I make my other rum cake, I put in 2 teaspoons into the cake. There we go. And then I'm going to just add in 1 vanilla. And honestly, it's just to your taste and flavor preference, just like with the brown sugar and the nuts. All right. Now, let's see, make sure I have everything in there, and we'll just put that in. We're just beating it until the dry ingredients are moist and blended. We do not want to overmix it here, so we can keep all the lightness that we beat into it. Okay. I like to turn the whole in there. You can see there's a couple lumps of flour. Alright, that looks great. Doesn't that look like such a nice, rich, thick cake batter? Oh, I love it. And I just love the smell of the rum. I just do. So, like, I guess the artificial smell of the rum. So now this is going to go into a 350 degree oven for 50 minutes. Right? I'm guessing, yeah. Well, actually for like an hour. But I would start checking it at like 50 minutes. So, let's see. Let's make sure that it's all mixed, like to scrape along the bottom. Sometimes the mixer doesn't get it. Okay, so now we'll scrape it. Just a second, let me move this. All right. So it's nice and thick and so beautiful. And it smells like rum. And of course it's a Sunday where I'm not eating yet, and so I'm very hungry, so it smells amazing. All right. So we'll scrape it in there. You can see how full this is, so you want to make sure that you have a bigger size bundt pan, just in case. But I mean, you saw how quickly that came together, and so you can make, it's a really quick cake for you to make with when you weren't expecting company or something, as long as you have a pound of butter, right? And so if you were just making it as a regular cream cheese pound cake, which is super amazing, you just would not have added in the rum extract or done the nuts and brown sugar in the bottom. And that is super good. You can eat it cut up with fruit or just plain for breakfast. Just kidding. Okay, so I'll put this in the oven and then we'll come back in an hour. This was at 55 minutes and you can see it rose beautifully, and I have my little tool that it just barely came out of the oven. And now I need to make the glaze to go on top, but I'm just putting this around it so that you can create the space for it. Now, like I said, this, if you just leave out the rum extract and just put in 2 teaspoons of vanilla, then that basically makes it just the cream cheese pound cake, and you can put in dried fruit or nuts or different spices. Okay, so now we're going to make the glaze. And the glaze is a half cup of butter. Let's see, I better turn that on. Half cup of butter. 1 cup of sugar. Here you go, 1 cup of sugar. And then it calls for a 1/4 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of rum, but I kind of split the difference and just do a 1/2 cup of water in there. And I'm just going to let that boil. Just let it all melt together and boil, and then I'm going to add in some of the extracts. Just letting it all melt. We're going to have it boil for just a little bit once it gets to that point, until it's a little bit slightly thickened. Okay, here we go. All right, so you can see all the butter's melted, and it shouldn't take that long for it to start boiling. I've just been stirring it, making sure all the sugar is dissolved, and I wait till the end to put in the vanilla extract. I don't know why, but sometimes I've forgotten to put it in, and then it just was like not as good. But I'm kind of concerned. My only concern is that this cake will be too sweet, and then when you add this glaze on top of it, then it'll make it even sweeter. So I don't know. And it doesn't, I think because I'm not using the alcohol, I'm not using the rum, that it doesn't boil up into the glaze the same way. But I mean, this is still delicious when you put butter and water and sugar all together and boil it to make, I mean, basically that's kind of like almost the beginnings of a caramel there. So you have to watch it because you can see how it grows, and it can boil over really easily. So I'll turn it down just a little bit. I'm just going to let it boil for a minute, and then we'll come back and I'll put in the extracts. Okay, so you can see it's kind of gotten a little bit more glaze-like. So we'll turn it off. Usually it's just as long as my patience is. That's how long I go for. So we'll put a teaspoon of vanilla extract in there and a teaspoon of my rum emulsion. And I wonder if I need to use just a little bit less because it's stronger than just regular extract. All right, now we'll stir this all around, and I'm going to put it on the cake right here. So let's see, try and arrange that. All right, so there we go. We'll put it and trying to get it down each little crack and crevice without spilling it over. Okay. And I always wonder if this is the time that it has the hole in the middle or not. You never know until you open it. Now you just let it cool in the pan completely. And we have found that with this cake, oops, I forgot to put this down the middle. With this cake, it is best room temperature rather than cold. So go ahead and just wait for it to be for it to cool down. Let's see, you have to be very careful here so it doesn't spill over. Uh-oh, it kind of did. That's all right. All right. It just gives it a nice, juicy outer layer. And always the unmolding is the trick. So if you have like a little thin spatula that you can use, then that is great. I go around it with this when it's cooled off and just kind of go deeply underneath like that to try and make sure that it will try and come up. But like I said, it's best to wait for it to cool down a little bit because warm cake seems to fall apart a little bit more and break apart more than warm cake. So we'll come back after when I'm about to unmold it. Hi! So we're back, and it has been a couple hours and my cake is cooled down quite a bit. So now we're going to take it out. As you can see, I just went around and did this, and the danger of course is that I'm like gouging in there. That's part of the stress and fun of a bundt pan, is you never know if it's going to come out. When I do this as a cream cheese pound cake, it comes out beautifully. So, oh, feels like it did really well. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh, but look, see, there's all this that got left in here. So I think what we can do is we can just kind of put that on top there if you feel so inclined to put it. I mean, it looks like there's still quite a bit. And this I did keep in for 55 minutes, and then I put a toothpick in, and it came out clean. And so I would definitely start testing it because you don't want to overcook it necessarily. But the great thing about this, just like with the brownies, is since there's so many, so much butter and other good moist things in there with the cake, that it's fine. Okay, so here I'll slice it and we'll see if we have the hole in the middle or how it ended up. Let's see. That's the problem with cutting through with the, oh, look at that, that came out really beautiful, is that sometimes the nuts end up not letting you cut through very cleanly. You can see that kind of ripped through there. Okay, so now let's see how this worked. Obviously you can see where the syrup went down, and let's see how it worked. So if I did this again, I probably would make I would 1.5 batch the syrup, but I mean, it is super delicious. You can see
extremely moist, very, very good. So I would recommend you try it. It's, well, it's just really great. So anyway, thank you for watching.